after I read the manifesto, I thought this guy's definitely right about almost everything he's saying, as far as I could tell, in terms of what technology is doing to human beings.
Hello, Tony. Hello, Sharlto. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, good to meet you.
Hi.
Nice to meet you too. Oh, someone disappeared.
Sorry, that's someone's trying to call me. I'm just on my phone, so I've just got.
Okay, that's okay.
People.
Yes. So, what an amazing movie, amazing performance, and beautiful cinematography. I love it a lot. And so, I'm going to start with you, Tony. What was like I know the story is very inspirational because you can talk about in different ways about Ted's life. But what will attract you to his story?
I mean, it's so many things. It's such a nuanced story, and it was a story that I was very familiar with growing up as a kid in the U.S. So I just knew a little bit of it, and it was something sort of after 9/11, looking back into, looking at American terrorism, that I realized the story was very nuanced, and finally reading Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, so interested by this guy who lived off the grid with no running water or electricity, but managed to, paralyze the nation just by writing letters and obviously sending bombs as well. But just sort of the intelligence to pull off this campaign of terror over 19 years was just fascinating. And then there's the contradiction of sort of, of heinous acts and of violence mixed with, very, very prophetic ideas. So, and then as, time has gone on, the ideas have become far more relevant, far more accurate. So just an evolving story, and just wanting to get into the nuance of it all, and just kind of getting sort of this black and white look at, kind of usual true crime narratives.
Yeah, and for you, Sharlto, to play this character, to play him, he has so much layers, and you have a lot of like physical, stress. It's a lot. How was it for you to play him in your preparation?
It was quite a remarkable experience, because we got to actually, through our other producer on the movie, Matt Flanders, is from Montana, and his sister went to school with the person who currently owns Ted Kaczynski's property. So we actually rebuilt the cabin on the exact spot where Ted used to live. His veggie garden was still there, all of that. So it was a very immersive experience. So old tin cans, that he'd been using for eating. There were 50,000 pages of diaries that we could access. So you could really get into his mind and into his motivations in a way that most people are not aware of. When I came on board, I sort of had this image of him as a, psychopathic kind of crazy madman that had been killing people, and then we just locked him away. And when you look in more detail, he really did have a lot of very, very strong arguments, very strong opinions about things. And there's a human being in there. There was someone who was very lonely, who yearned for female affection and could just never get that right. He could never get a love relationship in his life. So just on a basic thing like that, when you're looking for a way, it's easy to play, somebody who's bad and doing crazy stuff. But to find the humanity in that, a way in for me was just looking at his desperate need for human contact and human affection, and his frustration in his belief that technology is going to basically make people connect less, which is actually what happens. In a way, we connect like this over screens more, but we see each other less, we touch each other less, and and he was also very different from how I've ever seen him portrayed before. When there's one interview of him that exists, and when you hear him speak, part of the reason I got the job was that I could imitate how he speaks and his energy level when he talks about stuff that he's passionate about. When you hear him in the interview, he's a lot more energetic and intense a character. He's not this quiet, stereotypical image of the quiet, depressed, no energy, low energy guy sitting. He's an intense guy, and so that was my sort of interpretation of him, bringing that intensity.
Yeah, I thought that your performance was amazing, and I that's why I felt this humanity on him. Like, I think you were able to show us that, you know what I mean? Not just the bad guy, but it's amazing. Congratulations. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. And for Tony, the cinematography is beautiful as well. How was your approach? Why did you decide to it's so beautiful, the shots of Montana, even there is some close-up shots of some of the characters. Why did you decide to go in that route?
Well, I think it was really important with the film to show Montana the way Ted saw it, and reading all his writings, the tens of thousands of pages of writings we went through, obviously it was, he was in love with the surroundings. So really wanted to capture that, so while we're telling this very subjective tale, we wanted to, have the viewpoint, show, the gorgeous landscape. So, I think, and then, he was also, not the most social person. So when we filmed, dialogue scenes or interactions, there's very claustrophobic, so at every point trying to have the cinema language meet the content of the scene. So that's where sort of, there's a variety of techniques based on what, Ted's circumstances are at the moment.
Sharlto, we mentioned about the technology that now we don't touch too much. We talk more through the screen. So in the sense, he was a little bit right about what technology will do with us. What do you think about technology right now in our lives, in our daily lives?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do the movies, is after I read the manifesto, I thought this guy's definitely right about almost everything he's saying, as far as I could tell, in terms of what technology is doing to human beings. And it's, some of his ideas are not entirely original to him. There's a lot of people who've been putting forward the idea that man is living in an environment now that we're not evolutionarily adapted to living in. We're supposed to live in close communities, where we know people closely, where where there's multiple people raising our kids. There's an extended family network. We're very tribal in that sense, community-based creatures. And I do think, pretty much exactly what he says, that we've sort of become slaves to the technology. Like, we really mostly now depend on our technology. How much we control it, I think it controls us more than we control it, I think is the summary.
Tony, what was like your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge was probably finding the right actor. So, once Sharlto and I connected, that was it, and, I just suddenly realized like everything was coming together, because I truly don't know anybody else who would have been better for this role and would have committed as much. So, once that door opened up, it was, we just made a plan to go to Montana, and we shot over a whole year to get the seasons right. And Sharlto was incredible and came back multiple times. So we had the seasons working with us, and that allowed us to, kind of work through the footage, see what else we needed. So it was just an amazing process. And, I just am super thrilled that, the stars aligned and we were able to connect to make this.
And Sharlto, for playing Ted, what did you learn about yourself playing him?
Well, I suppose that I guess that I had more in common with somebody that I would have quite easily just completely dismissed and written off. If you're going to play it, when I first heard about it, I didn't want to play the role because I was like, I'm not going to play it. I'm tired of playing these villainous guys. It's very not me. I'm very much a pacifist in my own life. And I see myself as, not at all like this guy. And so then I read the manifesto and I was like, oh, well, this makes a lot of sense. And then, and as you go and you see his fear of loneliness, his need for human connection. For example, I've always had relationships with women in my life. he was never able to do that. He only kissed 2 women in his life. That's as far as he went within any sort of intimacy with female energy. And it was quite a moving thing to sort of imagine if I'd lived my life without that. If I was living without the female influence in my life, it would be a very, very tough life to live. I would struggle with that. So yeah, I guess the fact that we all have more in common with each other underneath things than we realize if we look, you know. I realized that I do care deeply about what's happening to the planet. As I lived through him, I was like, wow, this is really bothering me. I'm trying not to, because I'm carried away in my normal everyday life. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's terrible what's happening, you know. Anyway, what are you doing now? And it's like, no, but this really does bug me. Like some primal part of myself is like, this is, you know, not enough that I'm going to be sending strange letters to you, though. Don't worry.
Okay. So I'm not gonna be expected that. That's awesome. Tony, I just want to thank you so much for your time. Sharlto, I just want to thank you so much for your time. A lot of success always, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this video, don't forget to comment, to like, and subscribe to our channel right here.